Hello, everyone, and welcome to another incredible episode of Lab Insider. Now, no matter where you are in the world, Lab Insider wants to hear from you. We have an incredible privilege to talk with Ning Wang from San Francisco, broadcasting all the way from California. How are you, Ning?
Doing great. Thank you very much for your kind invitation. It's my great pleasure to be Lab Insider. Yeah.
You know, we want to hear from everyone, right? From every sector. And, you know, we even had an incredible show in which we were talking with some university professors. Olivier Chevalier, who discussed preparing new students into the workforce. Another, Professor David Wood, you'll see this episode. And in this one, he talks about an entrepreneurial spirit and the lifestyle choices and commitments of students. These are great points. Now, I have a great privilege to talk to you because you are, you're an alumni of the University of California, Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And recently you have just started you've started your career as a bioinformatics scientist.
Right, at Arcus Biosciences, yeah.
Now, you have a lot to say when it comes to, machine learning, bioinformatics, but I think let's just start off with tell us about you. Tell us about what you know and about your position.
So first of all, I want to say hi for all the audience to have me here today. It's my great pleasure and also really nice to talk to you, Max, again today. So I'm Ning. I'm currently a bioinformatics scientist at Arcus Biosciences, which is actually a mid-sized immuno-oncology pharma. So here I've been supporting preclinical and clinical studies for oncology drug development. So notably, I've been pioneered some of the machine learning techniques to support the 3D organoids cancer model selections at Arcus, and also have been initiate some of the real-world evidence efforts at Arcus to support the clinical development. Before I graduated from UCLA, which is one of the California university. So I got my PhD there studying bioinformatics. I mostly focus on the system immunology, where I've been also developing machine learning techniques trying to understand immune response genes. Before I actually came from China, so I got my bachelor on electronic engineering, which is, it's much closer to the computer science. I think that's where I started to touch machine learning. Actually, I published my first paper during my undergraduate school and on the machine learning field, trying to predict microRNA targets there. That's all my start point, like how I step by step to touch the machine learning and eventually combine that with biophysics modeling techniques together, trying to understand immunology and oncology later. So, which is really fascinating, yeah.
When it comes to oncology, obviously, I mean, we're talking cancer research using the ability of machine learning. So, these are predictive models.
Yes, that's actually a great question. So, machine learning is actually very general and big word, including a really big field. So, in this field, there are a couple of specific questions. So prediction is one of them. That's actually so-called supervised learning, which is you have a label for the variables you try to predict. But there's another category of questions which is unsupervised learning. You generally do not predict anything. It's more like identify the patterns of the data, like clustering approach. Clustering problem, like you see a group of people and what are the potential populations of them, whether you can cluster them into different populations like that.
I mean, machine learning, it's it is a buzzword. And you don't have to work in science, technology, research to understand that machine learning is predicting what YouTube videos we want to watch. It's predicting absolutely everything. Why, in particular, when it comes to the future laboratory, why is it particularly exciting?
So I think all the people very excited about this. I actually have my own perspectives. Since as modern biology or modern lab, data has been significantly or exponentially generated than decade before. So with all of those data, people are thinking about how we can more efficiently gain insights from that. So machine learning actually naturally fit into that gap. Like the machine learning model, based on certain tasks we want to address, they can more efficient leverage of data translate into the functions we care about, like predictions, clusterings, like that, and help people leverage those data to perform certain functions. And actually, it turns out very efficient, and people really like it. So, so I think that's one of the reasons people so excited about the machine learning with so many data, so much data available nowadays.
I mean, the implications are enormous. Huge predictive learning models, but when it comes to actually carrying out the research, I mean, does this benefit a particular aspect of actually working with these data sets? I mean, is it time saving? Is it efficiency for the company? I mean, what would be the main sort of efficiency drivers?
Yeah, I definitely would say yes. The first, it could save a lot of time. Once the model has been built and trained and finished, it's like automatic algorithm.
It's done.
Fit into the data. Yeah, they provide the results. It's not like human. You have to spend time to understand it. Anytime you have to manually examine that. That's actually costly, lengthy and costly. Second is I would say definitely save money for us. Once you build up this model, you don't need many people to work around with the data. So it can save a lot of money when you're hiring a human trying to solve those problems.
How close do you think we are to really deploying this in a medium or large company? Do you think 5 years, 10 years, or do you think it's already running?
Actually, I would say it's already running. It's just it's like every great technology. It's not like suddenly become the a mature thing. It's step by step. Mm-hmm. So at this moment, we're already seeing a lot of application of that. Maybe just small tasks, maybe just explorative project, but people are actually using that in their daily jobs.
There was when we had a chat about this some time ago, and you pointed out that the pharma industry is particularly attracted to this methodology. They have the most positive attitude.
It's actually a complicated situation. So for the pharma, they have their own concerns. So first of all, I think it's like a data privacy issue. They don't want their data to be leaked out, especially when those things are related with clinical trials, related with patients' privacy. They care about that. So they generally care about like whether those info could be leaked out from the models. Secondly, I would see as every industry, people care about the robustness, reliability of every application on new technologies. So therefore, they would rather take step by step, trying to bringing this into just a small part of their applications, trying to test off that and trying to just get familiar with it and trying to make it mature. After they get a mature deployment, I would say, and also address concerns I just talked above. I think I actually embrace those new technologies. Yeah.
Is there any cooperation with universities?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think this is generally happening in pharma. Pharma have the tradition to have collaborations with universities. Yeah, and any academia institutes. Yes.
University, innovations that come from don't usually happen in, the likes of Steve Jobs and Bill Gates are these stereotypes in which in a garage, a couple of people dropped out of college, started up an invention somewhere in Seattle and end up making billions of dollars. In many cases, it's the university environment that's the hotbed for creating things. Well, like these predictive models in machine learning. Tell me about this culture of entrepreneurship at universities, because you're an example of this.
Sure, yeah, I'm very happy to share of this. So I think particularly for university at California, I think we definitely are deeply impacted by the Silicon Valley's culture. So we do really, I think the university generally very positive and actually encouraging about the innovation, entrepreneurship. We have a lot of different programs, competitions, seminars, all sorts of activities circle around the university, trying to encourage the students, faculties, researchers commercialize of their scientific work and trying to build up a new generation of industry. So I definitely, when I came to US, I know nothing about entrepreneurship, but just a couple of years, I've been really excited and fascinated by this. I feel like this is my life mission. Like I want to build up a great startup, great company to some days. So I think that's really encouraging, really exciting. Yeah.
What kind of actual? I'm just wondering. Like, are they? I mean, I can imagine like a Wolf of Wall Street style pep talk where there's a guy on the stage going like, "You can do it." Is it a matter of that? Are they seminars, or are they also offering their physical facilities to let you test and run your ideas?
They have both.
Yeah.
So of course, culturally, they have to encourage students to think about it in this way, but they also have facilities. Once your project are mature enough, matched to a couple of metrics, then you are eligible to have physical facilities at the university trying to incubate of your startup. And if it's quickly grow, then you can think about get your own lab space outside of university. But at the beginning, they have incubator at the university. Yeah, that's super nice. Actually,
good point about getting that laboratory off the site of the university. So once you make that decision, okay, I want my own facility. I want to take this hands on. How do you come about this process? Do you approach an investor, or are there associations that provide laboratories for you in particular?
Yeah, my case is a little bit different, and I do not regret my decision. So I have to see everything has the upside and downside. So the upside of choosing go for university is like you have a lot of people support you to do things you want to do. Mm-hmm. The downside of that is typically it's lengthy. You are require a lot of resources from universities, so they definitely have certain bars for you to pass, whether you have a good publication and whether it's valuable and whether it's patentable. I think for the last you care more about like if there are patents centered around that, then they can benefit from this patent. But if there's not much patent of that, then it may not fit into their interest. Therefore, for me, I sort of I'm a deep believer of the trial and error as foundation for any startup.
The scientific method, right?
Yeah, exactly. So therefore, I just want to have a small test and trying to see whether some of our ideas and the techniques and some of our work can address actual problems and trying to see whether that works. And then I want to go for the university. I'm still glad we took that approach to trying to address the issues we want to solve. But unfortunately, in the end, we found like that actually not a best solution to solve the problems we want to solve. So therefore, I'm also glad we didn't spend much time in terms of talking with universities and trying to set all those results, because we found, this is actually not a best approach to do that.
It's interesting because it's I'm hearing this a very very pioneering idea, but it yet is very distant to your college degree, actually. So it's a very, very different thing. And so what I'm trying to find the common denominator here. What is it that despite the fact, okay, this wasn't what you studied, yet the environment encouraged you that way of thinking, and my question is, what encouraged you to? I mean, was it the environment that just let you come up with this idea? What was the part of the university college experience in the US?
Sure, yeah, I would definitely see the environment of the university is very important. I think they generally very open-minded. Like they are not predetermining what you should be. That shape, you have to fit into that shape when you graduated. I think in US, the university is encourage you to find your passion, even though this might not be your study. Maybe you can find your true passion after your graduation, right? I think that happens all the time.
Many people do, yeah. And many people take degrees that have nothing to do with their careers. With these ideas, do you think it's that way of thinking that really got you into your current career? Because right now, that kind of problem solving is exactly what you're applying.
Exactly. I think I didn't mention the results of my second startup. Eventually, we actually failed to identify the product market fit. I think the biggest reason we are thinking about it is that we envision such platform could help the scientists in pharma. But at that point, we are all graduate students, and we have no idea about how pharma work, right? So I think then the best way to actually pushed into this direction is actually trying to be in this industry, trying to understand what are the lab life at the pharma. So that's, I think, one of the motivation I moved to the industry, that I want to know how industry works and how the new technology could help the industry operate and generate new drugs. So that's definitely I would say one of the reasons I moved to industry, to pharma, yeah.
There must be a much more heavy emphasis on the laboratory environment in your case, in your career. Do you still have that opportunity for creative thinking?
That's a really critical question. I would summarize from two perspectives. One is personal perspective. So, there are different people, they have different mindset. They are kind of different types of people. I believe I still hold some of the entrepreneur properties that I'm more like to explore different things, trying to adventure my life rather than sitting in the same place trying to do the daily operation. So I think that's just the entrepreneur mindset. You want to identify new exciting things. You are trying to identify new opportunities. You go for that. So I would say that's for sure. I still keep some of that property. The second part I would say is company's culture.
Entrepreneurship is a word that's really come up a lot during our interview, and you're there in San Francisco in the invention capital of the world. Some might call it. Do you feel that describe the attitudes that are there? Is it like an infectious, positively infectious environment? Are people really enthusiastic about new ideas? Tell me how that goes. How do you communicate your ideas, and with whom?
San Francisco or Bay Area is actually a great place for the entrepreneur. So as you already mentioned, that there is a really comprehensive ecosystem. You have VC, venture capital, you have entrepreneur, and you also have talents, and also you have great universities. They all together making a comprehensive map that you actually need all of them to make a great ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
And at this place, people generally are very open-minded about new ideas, new technologies, but also I would say bar is high. So you have to compete so many ideas, so you have to match certain metrics so that you can stand out. But I do believe like people at this place are more encouraging about the entrepreneurship. And if you have great idea and also yourself is a great entrepreneur, you actually need all the things you need at this place. You can just do what you want. Of course, with certain still with certain constraints, your funding source, your talent pool, and your just the stage of the companies. But I do believe this is a great place for entrepreneur to create a great startup and companies. Yeah.
Do you think that's key to the lab of the future? That kind of environment.
I think for the lab life, for sure, I think it's a great place, but it also depends on people's career goal, right? A lot of people just want to be a great scientist, want to be a faculty or professor in universities. I do believe this place is still good enough for them to pursue their career, and I think this place definitely particularly nicer for entrepreneur who want to create a valuable startup.
Ning Wang, thank you very much.
Thank you, Max.
That was Ning Wang, graduate of the University of California, Los Angeles, and bioinformatics scientist working at Arcus Biosciences.